Not only has an unprecedented chaos occurred in the United States, suddenly a number of mysterious incidents are occurring around the world. The power outage in the Vatican, the power outage in the Eiffel Tower in Paris, some power outage in the Washington, D.C., and the great power outage in Pakistan happened simultaneously or at least one after another. Pakistan has lost electricity in almost every major city including Karachi, Islamabad, Lahore. Pakistan authorities said there is a problem with the electricity supply chain and announced that an investigation is underway. But local residents are worried because they cannot understand the simultaneous blackout, even though there have been blackouts in some parts of the country in the past. The question of whether the global power failure that occurred at the same time in many parts of the world was a coincidence or whether it was something big happened remains unclear. The U.S. Space Force said they can take control of broadcast waves around the world. It is known that the Space Force created by President Trump can overcome any obstacle to obtain information and send the emergency broadcast to the United States. With big tech blocking all of Trump's social media and blocking all media that speaks against Biden, the role of the resulting Space Force is drawing tremendous attention. Democratic leaders who can't even predict what President Trump will do are very concerned now. Nancy Pelosi is trying to re-indict President Trump's 25th Amendment, but it is unlikely to be legally or physically achieved. Alan Dershowitz, a prominent jurist of the U.S. Constitution and criminal law lawyer, made it clear that President Trump's impeachment is unconstitutional. The military too made it clear that President Trump is a commander-in-chief when Nancy Pelosi started a dispute over nuclear weapons control. And on January 8, the military described the Capitol Hill incident as an First Amendment protest, not a riot or revolt. They said it was a voluntary demonstration by which the people exposed their outrage against the Democratic leadership and big tech. Democratic leaders are furious at the unwavering loyalty of Defense Secretary Chris Miller appointed by Trump. Although all media criticized Trump, more and more Americans support him. Support for President Trump has risen to 51% since the Capitol Hill incidents, according to a poll by Rasmussen. Before Christmas it was 45%, now it has increased by 6%, which is also the highest value of all time. Military personnel are currently deployed in Washington, D.C. It is not yet clear whether it's for the massive armed demonstration on January 17th or a precautionary measure with regard to Biden's inauguration. Nevertheless, it is clear that the military is on Trump's side. At the same time, the major disclosure war is expected. Attorney Lee Nude announced that he will soon reveal shocking information about government officials and wealthy elite. He also said that the evidence was solid and that disclosure of it would lead to a battle between good and evil. The conflict created by the U.S. presidential election became an unprecedented one that will go down in the history of today's civilization. If Joe Biden takes over this regime, it is very likely that the United States will enter the Maoist era. Some people think about how the U.S. will accept communism, but that is not. On January 10th, a shocking article was published on the Media World Tribune. Former CIA Chief Brennan wants Mao-like public humiliation sessions for Trump supporters. During the Chinese Communist Party's Cultural Revolution, the Red Guards publicly humiliated and harassed Mao Zedong's opponents in order to destroy cultural relics and ideas of the old days. Mao Zedong encouraged the people to report capitalist counter-revolutionary and held a people's cult. Brennan was the CIA director from Obama's time. He will have a huge impact when Biden becomes the president, and he insists that Trump's supporters should be publicly humiliated just like a people's cult was in Mao's day. Brennan is a great left-winger. He proudly said that he had voted for Gus Hall, the presidential candidate of the Communist Party of the United States, who got 0.7% of the vote during the 1976 presidential election between Jimmy Carter of the Democratic Party and Gerald Ford of the Republican Party. Gosal was the leader and chairman of the Communist Party USA. Also, Brennan argued that Trump's supporters are only allowed to live in society after they have publicly criticized Trump. This is his tweet. Anyone now seeking national redemption by claiming to no longer support Trump must acknowledge how wrong it was to ignore and enable his corrupt, dishonest, and divisive agenda. Total denunciation of the despot legacy is necessary to eradicate any remaining malignancy. He said Trump's supporters should blame Trump in order to be saved. And that is reminiscent of the Christian Operation Fumia, who could only avoid execution by stepping on the picture of Jesus during the Japanese shogunate period. Fumia is a method used by Edo shogunate to hunt down Christian believers who were banned from Japan during the Edo period. So there is no difference between Fumia and Brennan's ideology. Meanwhile, Brennan said Trump should be punished for the Russiagate too. He spoke of Trump being a tyrant and getting rid of his legacy, which are very dangerous remarks. Brennan also threatened that all politicians, government officials, journalists, and talk show hosts will be held accountable for pretending not to see Trump's corruption. However, he's also desperate because if Trump succeeds in his second term, he could be punished for fabricating the Russiagate. The book titled The Hammer is the Key to the Cope explains how former CIA Director Brennan attempted to indict Trump by making the Russiagate. Here, Hammer is the supercomputer for surveillance, as General Thomas McInerney already mentioned before. The book's authors Mary Fanning and Alan Jones explained how Barack Obama, CIA Director Brennan, former DNI Director James Clapper, and the CIA eavesdropped and monitored Trump and Michael Flynn. Meanwhile, it emerged that Senator Josh Hawley got a terrible threat as he sided with President Trump by refusing to approve electoral votes at a congressional session. According to National Post on January 7, Jonathan Gitlin said Josh Hawley should deserve to be skinned alive and rolled in salt. Jonathan Gitlin posted this threat on Twitter and deleted it when it became a problem. It was in retaliation for Josh Hawley's accurate and sharp assessment of election irregularities at a congressional session. Jonathan Gitlin was an adjunct professor at the University of Kentucky and worked at the NIH, National Institute of Health, from 2009 to 2015. The NIH, which employs 6,000 researchers, is an organization for senior doctors like Anthony Fauci, who proposed Trump's first C-19 measures. National Post reports that Jonathan Gitlin was under the influence of Anthony Fauci while he was at the NIH. People have doubted why the Dr. Jonathan Gitlin said that Senator Josh Hawley should be skinned alive, rolled in the salt. If someone says there is no socialism and communism in the U.S., it is because he or she does not know very well about the U.S. history. The first Socialist Labor Party in the United States was formed in 1976, and the Socialist Workers' Party, a Marxist party, was formed in 1938. In Obama's time, even Mao Zedong's decorations were on the White House Christmas tree. Also on January 8, Joe Biden named Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley as Nazis. Biden said, "They are part of the big lie, Goebbels and the Great Lie. You keep repeating the lie, repeating the lie." And the Goebbels used the expression in reference to tactics he attributed to the Nazis. Hawley and Cruz immediately condemned Biden for calling them Nazis. This is the tweet from the Ted Cruz. Really said, at a time of a deep national division, President-elect Biden's choice to call his political opponents literal Nazis does nothing to bring us together or promote healing. This kind of vicious partisan rhetoric only tears our country apart. Afterward, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez replied to Ted Cruz with a picture of a person wearing the Auschwitz camp uniforms. They wore Auschwitz shirts, erected gallows, and tried to hang the vice president. Your continued excuser and denier of Wednesday's neo-Nazi presence is abhorrent and dangerous. However, since there was a far-left group like Antifa and BLM, that does not mean that all Democrats are Antifa or BLM members. But it seems like only a picture or two describe everyone. In this situation, Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer also says that members of the mob who stormed the U.S. Capitol should be put on the no-fly list.
Any of those who are inside the Capitol should not be able to fly and should be placed on the no-fly list. We are calling on the authorities, FBI, TSA, Department of Homeland Security, to put them on the no-fly list immediately. Amidst the continued threat of future violence online, the federal government's own concerns, I spoke to Director Ray.
When someone is violent, action should be taken against the public. However, when millions of dollars were damaged by riot and arson from Antifa and BLM in major U.S. cities such as Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, Minnesota for months, Chuck Schumer did not criticize them. It's not right to say that, depending on your political position, some people are free and some people are guilty. Even more shocking remarks made by Michael Beller, a lawyer of the PBS Public Broadcasting Service. After this video, he resigned from the PBS.
These kids who are growing up knowing nothing but Trump, for 4 years, you gotta wonder what else they're going to be like. Are we raising a generation of intolerant, horrible people, horrible kids? And when Biden wins, you go through all the Republican voters, and Homeland Security will take the children away. And we'll put them into re-education camps.
Amen.
In these times, which are unique, some is close to him, enlightenment camps.
Right.
They're nice. They have Sesame Street characters in the classroom, and they watch PBS all day. What's great is that COVID is spiking in all the red states right now, so that's great.
Why do you think so?
Because either those people will come out to vote for Trump, because the red states, or a lot of them are sick and dying.
In the video, he said that President Trump is like Hitler. However, he believes the children of Trump's supporters should be sent to a re-education camp. He also said it is very great that the C-19 situation is so serious in some states that Trump's supporters cannot vote. In this situation, if Democratic leader Joe Biden holds the presidency in the next administration, it is very likely that most Americans who support the Republican Party will have a terrible future. Very, very terrible future. What do you think of this video? Thanks for watching. Your comments and likes. Be safe.